Thank you so much. Good evening. Respected Shri Chiranjeev Singh ji, Adip Chaudhary ji, and Shri Uday Krishna, Professor Lawrence Surendra, Deepak Malghan, Amukta Mahapatra, Swati Ramanujan, others, so many friends of Tagore and of the passion that he brought to education, the spirit of universalism that he stood for, who have gathered here today. It's a great privilege to be part of this lovely program today. I've been listening to so many thoughtful discussions of what Tagore means and what the Kumarappa's work means for us today. I thought even the very start of the program, the beautiful song, Ananda Loke, Mongola Loke, was sung so beautifully, and the fact that many in the audience were also singing along. It's a very unique experience because collective singing is a very rare experience, and it is very, very special. I was really wondering, after such a beautiful song, whether there was anything left to say. But so many illustrious speakers have said so much and enriched this evening that there's very little that I think remains to be said. But I do wish to say a couple of things. You know, what Tagore means for us today is, Amukta has spoken very beautifully about what Tagore means in the space of education. I was just thinking back to the students. You mentioned Amartya Sen and the environment that he created. There was Nandlal Bose, there was Binod Bihari, there was Ram Kinkar Baij, and K.G. Subramanian later. That beautiful environment, I had also read Shivani's memoir of Shantiniketan, the writer Shivani, who wrote Amader Shantiniketan. Imagine referring to your school, where you grew up and where you studied, as Amader Shantiniketan. I think that itself says so much about what Shantiniketan meant to those, Satyajit Ray again, who has spoken and written about his years at Shantiniketan. So I think Tagore occupies a very rare and special space in the intellectual history of modern India, a poet, philosopher. The words of the song that we heard itself were imbued with so much poetry and so much beauty that is the same kind of poetry and beauty which comes in the philosophy that he brings to education. And that's why I think that spirit of freedom, of the metaphor of nature that Amukta spoke about, I was also thinking, sir, when you spoke about, there was a reference to Tagore and his connection with Karnataka. The beautiful beach at Karwar is named the Rabindranath Tagore Beach, and there's a bust. And I think that beach, in a sense, liberates him from urban Bangalore and takes him to one of the most beautiful coastlines also. A poet, philosopher, and educator, not only India's first Nobel laureate, but also, importantly, one of the earliest critics of colonial education. And I think that's something that comes out very well in Kumarappa's book. As you rightly said, Tagore is for the 21st century. The very fact that we are talking about a reprint of a 1930s 28 thesis in the 21st century, about 100 years ago, itself shows how far ahead of the times he was. Tagore envisioned an education system that was in harmony with both nature and culture, and deeply humane, rooted in freedom of the mind, creativity, and of spirit. Kumarappa's book is, thank you for the Xerox copy that I received. I read it with great interest. Of course, I have to take some time to absorb the thinking, but I think this work is very, very significant, not only for its scholarly depth, but also for the context that it brings. It was written at a time when India was, as Deepak Malghan said, still under colonial rule. It was written at a time when India was still trying to understand and imagine its own identity, its own systems of knowledge. I had read Hind Swaraj, I had reread about 10 days back, and I was telling you, sir, just how interesting at that time, writing in a ship from London to South Africa, writing with his right hand until his right hand is weary, and then writing with his left hand across 8 days that it takes, Gandhi wrote Hind Swaraj, which is still such a powerful critique of Western modernity that it really is very, very thought-provoking and very powerful, speaks to our times. And I think the ideas of those times, and the very fact that those ideas were talking to each other. Even Kumarappa disagrees with some of the ideas, and the fact that disagreement was happening openly and freely, and new knowledge was actually being created in this dialogic process. Not that it was just one person's point of view. That was very interesting to me. Kumarappa, of course, shows how Tagore believed in the complementary nature of East and West, but also warned against the dominance of a mechanistic, utilitarian worldview. And I think that's something that education is struggling with today. We treat education as a purely transactional, functional thing, as a commodity. We even talk about students as products of certain schools or colleges. And it always, it always creates this sense of dissonance in me, that students are not products, but they are themselves, as you said, constructors of knowledge and constructors of their their way of being in the world and living in the world. So that is something that's so important and so interesting to me from Kumarappa's book. Kumarappa documents how Tagore saw the school as an extension of the community and of the land. At Shantiniketan, students learned not only literature and science, but also agriculture, craft, and music. I think that's something that, again, the subjectification of knowledge and the creation of silos between disciplines has happened over the decades, and that's something that we're struggling with now, especially in the 21st century, when rote learning, with the advent of artificial intelligence, it looks as if rote learning is now eventually going to get phased out. Curriculum reform will have to look at deeper ways of learning and of understanding and of how we can teach children, critical thinking, creativity, innovation, and independent inquiry, because those are the skills that our children need in the 21st century. Tagore's idea of Vishwa Bharati as an international university was also far ahead of his time. He believed that India's future did not lie in isolation nor in mimicry of the West, but in creating a civilizational dialogue. And I think the idea of a dialogue, again, is very, very important. Often we're talking at, but not talking to, and not responding to. And these conversations have to happen in a form of dialogue with both cultural confidence, but also respect to listen and to learn. One of the most relevant aspects of this book is its critique of education as a machine for producing conformity. We heard earlier today about how education as a factory or as a system that produces products and as a machine is something that is very worrisome and that we should think about. I think we really need to introspect deeply about what our ways of education today are still doing to young people and to their creativity. They're almost going in as independent, unique young individuals, and they're coming out as compliant, very predictable products. And that is something that's very, very worrying for us today. Kumarappa's interpretation of Tagore offers, at a time when we need it most, great clarity, rootedness, and relevance. For a country that's as young and at the same time as ancient as India, this book is not just a return to Tagore, it's also a rediscovery of our unfinished debates around how we teach and how our young people learn and what we can learn from it. Thank you so much for this beautiful program and for giving me an opportunity to join all of you today.